Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Batteryman Yugioh deck profile for February 2021. I've been wanting to update the Batteryman for a good while now. The most difficult part was just gathering up all the needed pieces for the Batteryman deck. It's a really fun deck. For those of you who don't know, this is one of the oldest Thunder decks, I would say, for pure support, focusing on special summoning out and searching out a bunch of different Batteryman monsters, and then having different plays based on which Batteryman and how many different Batteryman you have on the field. Like I said, I'm a big fan of this deck, probably definitely one of my favorite Thunder decks out there. And those who don't know, I play Duel Links as well, so this is one of my favorite decks to use on there currently as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the Batteryman monsters, I run 3 Batteryman Microcell. There are a good number of playsets in this deck for the Batteryman monsters. With Microcell, it has a flip effect. When it's flipped, you special summon one level 4 lower Batteryman monster from your deck, except for Microcell. And after this card has been flipped face up, when it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you draw 1 card. So not only does this card have a special summon option, it also then has the additional draw power, being able to special summon and then thin out the deck to draw into some more appropriate cards for some of the plays you may wish to do. If your opponent doesn't, attack into this card or doesn't destroy it with the attack, I don't see how they wouldn't. You can then at least have it for tribute fodder, since you'll want to go for your search power with this card most of the time. My special summons revolve around Batteryman 9-volt. When this card is summoned, you can add 1 Batteryman monster from your deck to your hand. If you do, this card's attack and defense become double its original attack and defense. You can use this effect of 9-volt once per turn, and during your end phase, destroy this card. So this is search power. If you go off of Microcell, you're then able to grab another Batteryman off of 9-volt, making it that much easier for you just to swarm your field, which I'll go over the preferred search targets depending on the type of play you have available to you in the deck. For the other special summon target, I also run 3 Batteryman Solar. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send 1 Thunder monster from your deck to the graveyard. If a Thunder monster is normal or special summon while this monster is on the field, you can special summon 1 Batteryman token. And then you can target 1 Batteryman effect monster you control, or in your graveyard, this card's name becomes that monster until the end phase, and you can only use each effect of Solar once per turn. So the token definitely does come in handy because there's no restrictions on the token. You can even tribute it for one of our very important Batteryman monsters. So being able to rely on Solar, just to even set up other Batteryman in the graveyard for us to special summon back with some of our spell cards or traps, makes it all the worth it. So then you can just have more and more resources to make use of. And I also run 3 Batteryman Charger. But this one, when it is normal summoned, you can special summon 1 Batteryman monster except Charger from your hand or deck. And this card gains 300 attack and defense for each Thunder type monster you control. So another target with Charger would obviously be either 9-volt or Solar, but we're not limited with the special summons, like with Microcell being level 4 or lower. With Batteryman Charger, just having more and more Batteryman on the field, you could potentially have this card up by 1,200 attack for each one. So 3,300 total. I said 1,200 total. No, it's basically 300 for each, including itself being 1,500, being able to hit 3,300 attack against any of your opponent's monsters, being a true boss monster at that. But another special summon option we have is Batteryman Microcell Fuel Cell. With this one, if you control 2 or more face-up Batteryman monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, and once per turn, you can tribute 1 Batteryman monster except this card to select 1 card your opponent controls and return it to the owner's hand. So with this, you have just great resources to get rid of your opponent's pesky cards. Most of the time I go for extra deck monsters, but you can also use Solar's tokens that you create with this card for the tribute. Like I said, having no limitations on Solar's tributes, you can easily tribute them out for Fuel Cell, and then just have that bounce power of your opponent's cards back to their hand. Especially, like I said, extra deck monsters are some of my favorite ones, but even cards that they've just heavily invested to get onto the field can be easily bounced back to their hand with this card. And then for the last of the Batteryman, I also run 2 Batteryman Industrial Strength. This is one of the more difficult ones to summon out, that's why I'm only running 2 of it, but it can be easily searched with cards like Batteryman 9-volt. It can't be special summoned or normal summoned. It can only be special summoned except by banishing 2 Batteryman monsters from your graveyard, and once per turn, you can banish 1 Thunder type monster from your graveyard to destroy 1 monster and 1 spell or trap on the field. So it doesn't limit you to just your opponent's spell or traps or monsters. If your opponent just has monsters monsters. You can even just set one of your spell and traps if you really need to get rid of that monster, and then use the banish for industrial strength to then destroy that card, and then have no worries of the setup your opponent has on the field. But being able to get rid of 2 cards for just 1 banish in your graveyard is a true boss powerhouse monster at that, with 2600 attack. Definitely a more difficult card to get over also. For some of the additional light support, I also run 2 Bro Hunter. This is just more search power. When it's normal summon, you can add 1 level 4 light thunder type monster from your deck to your hand, except for Bro Hunter. So just being able to add solar or 9 volt is just an additional search option that I like with this card. If you don't want to run Bro Hunter, I've considered Effect Veiler or Ash Blossom as a hand trap spot for this card, but only running 2 of it, I would like to max it out at 3. So if you were to swap out the Bro Hunters for a hand trap playset, I would drop the number of Honest that I run in the deck, with all of our monsters in the deck being light monsters. Honest just definitely helps to power up these cards when battling against my opponent's monsters. My opponents will definitely try to get over Batteryman Charger's power boost, or even just destroy industrial strength before I have a chance to use this card anymore against my opponent. So being able to have Honest and then just drop it from my hand and then hit them for some pretty big damage is why I really do like this card in the deck. But once again, if you want to run the hand traps, you can take the 1 copy out and the 2 Bro Hunters and then put in your hand trap of choice for this spot. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I've run 3 Battery Charger. This is basically the Monster Reborn for the Batteryman. You pay 500 life points to special summon 1 monster from your graveyard. That includes Batteryman and its card name. So the good majority of the deck, except for Industrial Strength, can be special summoned off of this card. You won't get any benefit from Charger, but still an option to summon out into the field. And then obviously it's just great to have a resource for this card for the tribute play, being able to use Battery Charger, not taking up your normal summon, and then being able to tribute the monster you summon out, and even just get an additional search or send to the graveyard, depending on which one you send to the graveyard for the card. And now, this is one I was adjusting numbers with, but you can ideally run as many Short Circuit as you want, but I run 1 Raigeki, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, and 1 Short Circuit. Short Circuit specifies you activate only if you control 3 or more Batteryman monsters, destroy all cards your opponent controls. It's a great powerhouse card, but you need that setup on your field to rely on this card. So being able to use cards like Harpy's Feather Duster and Raigeki to just clear my opponent's board, and then have no fear of, let's say, back row when I'm trying to get my Batteryman play out, or no fear of monsters, is why I like to mix and match these numbers in the deck. If you want to adjust any of these numbers, you can always add in additional Short Circuits depending on what play you want more of. You can ideally keep the Feather Duster in, removing the Raigeki, because Short Circuit does destroy all the cards on the field. You just have more, circumstances in which you have to activate this card compared to Raigeki and Harpy's Feather Duster. And for more tribute power, I run 2 the Monarch Stormforth. Once during this turn, if you would tribute a monster for a tribute summon, you can tribute 1 monster your opponent controls. As if you controlled it, you can only activate 1 the Monarch Stormforth per turn, and during the turn you activate this card, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. So the only limit is the extra deck play, but this and Batteryman Charger is, I would say, very, very important. I even consider running, 3 of this card. If I were to do so, you can take out 1 of the one-of spells. With a lot of play testing, there were hands that was coming up multiples of this and just not seeing Charger fast enough. Or by the time I had Charger in my hand, I just had the Battery Charger spell option to special summon another Batteryman from the graveyard, summoning out Charger, and then not be limited to my extra deck. But this quick play spell definitely can help, because it can just get you more and more monsters on the field once you summon out Charger through a normal summon. And you can do plenty against your opponent with cards like Industrial Strength or Fuel Cell and not have to worry about extra deck plays to get rid of those cards. And then for the one-ofs, for these spells, I run 1 Foolish Burial. This is just more graveyard setup, being able to set up any Batteryman you want in your graveyard, then having the Battery Charger target. Monster Reborn, more special summons, especially with 9 volt, giving you more and more searches. And also 1 Call by the Grave and 1 Pot of Avarice for the rest of the spell lineup. If you wanted to run a 3rd Monarch Stormforth, you can take out the 1 Call by the Grave. I like it in here, but still, if you wanted more of a tribute option for the Batteryman, this is the way to go. And then that is it for the spells. We'll now move on to the traps. I run 3 Call the Haunted. Once again, just going off of the fact that you can chain this card, summoning out your 9 volt or your solar, giving you additional graveyard setup, or search is why I like running this card. So even if your opponent does destroy this card, as long as you get that searched, you may basically be destroying your 9 volt anyway at the end of the turn, of your turn. So might as well just activate this card, then hope your opponent does destroy it for chaining in response. And then lastly, just 3 infinite impermanence. I was trying to find a better trap lineup, but I ended up really liking this card just as a better way to stop resources against my opponent. If you don't have infinite impermanence, you can always try back to the front. More special summoning definitely doesn't hurt any of your plays in this deck, just more and more beneficial depending on which one you summon out to the field. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 1 Summer Summoner, needing 2 Thunder monsters once per opponent's turn. Quick effect, you can discard 1 card to target 1 Thunder monster in your graveyard, except a Link monster, and special summon it to a zone this card points to. So once again, we're going off of the 9-volt and also the Solar setup. Just that easy to summon either one of these cards to the field for the discard. And then even if you have, let's say, Solar in your graveyard and then being able to discard 9-volt, as long as you have the other target, you can summon the 9-volt onto the field for the discard, just being able to have those targets available in your graveyard to use. I also run the 2 Hippo Shenengen. You can even swap around, run 2 Summon Summoner and take out one of the Hippo Shenengen, but the light power boost that this card provides for the Thunder type monsters in the deck is a big plus for sure, especially with cards like Industrial Strength and also Charger. And I also run 1 Underclock Taker, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Borolo Dragon to finish off the Link monsters. And for the Xyz monsters, I run 1 Bujinte Tsukuyomi, great for just discard draw power and then more graveyard setup. 1 Starliege Paladynamo, being able to get over a good number of different monsters my opponent has. 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 number 41 Baguska, 1 Evil Swarm Exotonites, rank 4s being the major one I do go into, but I also run the 1 Constellar Ptolemy M7 for the rank 6 plays with, they are pretty sick, but also just the options with all the different fuel cells to special summon out onto the field that much easier just by controlling 2 or more face of Batterymen and then overlaying into them using those monsters for Ptolemy M7. And then as for some of the go-to plays, a lot of the time if you don't have the Stormforth, just setting up your microcell will then be able to then special summon out your 9-volt onto the field. If your opponent attacks and destroys into it, you'll give the special summon for the 9-volt. The 9-volt will then allow you to add a search to your hand, which if your opponent then destroys the 9-volt in battle, you'll have the 2 monsters in your graveyard ready to summon out your Batteryman Industrial Strength. There's for these 2 banishes. You won't have the other additional card to banish in the graveyard for Industrial Strength's destruction, but it won't take up a normal summon, meaning you can potentially tribute the Industrial Strength to summon out a Charger, and then having the fact that you use 9-volt last turn, special summon off of Charger using your 9-volt on the field, and then using 9-volt to gain another search means you can search out your Fuel Cell, which then you can either special summon the Fuel Cell and then have the additional tribute to then bounce one of your opponent's cards, or if you search off of 9-volt and you don't want to go for the Fuel Cell, you can go for the other Industrial Strength option, and before you summon this card out on the field, you'll link summon the 2 9-volt and Charger on the field into your Summer Summoner, which gives you the 3 monsters that you'll banish the first 2 for your Industrial Strength that you searched into your hand, and then the 1 additional one to destroy the 2 cards on your opponent's field while having the setup for these cards as well. For some of the other plays, if you open up with the Foolish Burial, you can send one of your monsters to the graveyard, which you can send your Batteryman Solar, and if you do that, you can then basically have the additional summon for your Batteryman Solar by sending it to the graveyard with a battery recharge as well. Being able to activate recharge to summon Solar onto the field. Solar will then allow you to send one of your Batterymen to the graveyard. So depending on which one you want to send, you can go for the Fuel Cell. If you have the additional special summon option to special summon Fuel Cell onto the field, let's say you either have your Monster Reborn or a second battery charger in your hand. Depending on the option, you'll special summon Fuel Cell onto the field, and then Solar will activate, giving you an additional token, and then being able to tribute that token for Fuel Cell to bounce a card in your opponent's field. One of the more faster plays to also work with, if you normal summon Solar, you can send Fuel Cell to the graveyard, activating the battery recharge, summoning Fuel Cell on the field, Solar will activate, giving you the token, saving 1 spell card for the same tribute you did before with your monsters. And that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. Like I said, definitely one of my more favorite decks to play out there. I definitely can't wait to play test it more. And it definitely does feel like it's been a while since we've gotten a Batteryman. I feel like Solar is the last one with Flames of Destruction support-wise. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira, Twig out.